Hello, all greetings. This is Gilles Mancillon. I wanted to come to you today. I'm sorry, I wanted to do this video yesterday, but I had some battery problem. I couldn't shoot it yesterday. I wanted to present a little painting that speaks of many small planets that I've already spoken about the small planets in astrology. But I've incorporated in this third version of that painting behind me many new aspects that enhance. Of course, I haven't looked at all the conjunction, the triangle, the squares, because when you put 120 planets, it becomes staggering in terms of all those aspects. But this painting behind me is the third of that series, which is a self-portrait, an astrological self-portrait. It is not finished. I'm going to briefly show it just to show all the names and all the symbols will be refined. So this is just, but there is already a lot of life in it. There is all kinds of magical powers that all those symbols and those planets hold, and so I'm working with them. They're reflecting me. So each and every planet will be as a little symbol and a little name, and each of the name and the symbol will be refined in each of the constellation. I'm going to go over those many planets. The top also is not finished, also the same thing. So this is a work in progress. It is, but it's still already good enough to comment briefly on some of those small worlds. So in essence, in astrology, there is 10 major aspects. It is always good to know those 10 major aspects that is permanent within our chart, which is our birth chart. So our birth chart is what is stable. We'll always keep those astrological imprint for the rest of our life here on this planet. Then we pass on and we get reborn and we get a new chart every time we get reborn. But in essence, it gives us some aspects, what are the filters of our perception and how we are conditioned through life. So I'm going to start with here. I'm going to first discuss the 10 major aspects. For me, I have my ascendant and my sun and Mercury and Mars and Chiron, all of it in Pisces. So it's my first house. In my second house, in terms of major aspect, I have Venus and Jupiter, so it should make me lucky in many sense. Sometimes I don't feel that lucky, but in a sense, I do have some gratitude for those the blessings I have received in my life. And then to find another major aspect, I have to go all the way to Virgo, where I have Uranus and Pluto. Pluto being the roots and Uranus being the crown, and it's the beginning and the end, and the matter and the spirit. Then I have Neptune and the moon. I have the Neptune and the moon in Scorpio, which is a very difficult composition alignment, but in many senses, since Neptune and the moon are making a triangle to Mars, Mercury, and the Sun, so there is an integration aspect. And then, of course, then I have those little asteroids in Sagittarius that are important and well known. It's Ceres, Juno, and Pallas. And then I have Saturn that's in conjunction with my ascendant. This is a 29 degree of Aquarius. And then I have Vesta here, and then the Lilith in Capricorn. So those planets are really well known in astrology. People have been talking about it, but there are many other aspects that are sometimes small planets can have very deep, powerful impact on our life, and some of those planets we don't know. So here I've integrated 120 planets. There is about 10,000 planets that are referenced in our solar system. There are hundreds of thousands of planets that are unknown. There are even some invisible planets in the third dimension, so those we can't even begin to imagine them until our frequency rises and we open our vision to those higher worlds. So in essence, I'm going to start with Pisces. So I have many of those stories. They connected to the Greek mythology in terms of energy, but sometimes the astrological impact is quite different as those energies have matured as they ascended, and so they do give out energy. And sometimes, so I'm going to comment very briefly on some of the things that I could know. I don't know all those planets. I know some of them a little bit, and I've been working with them. They're calling on me sometimes, and so they're kind of helping me in many sense. And so this is just a few planets that I've been able to locate. In these paintings, it looks a little crumbed up, so I'm gonna make all the symbol and names a little bit darker, so it will go back inside. And then in the next painting of that series, I'm going to do it in much larger format, where I will be able to put all the moons of Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Pluto, Uranus, and all the other moons. For that, for now, there is no moons. There is just the major aspect, the major planets. And so I added some new planets. Also, Mercury is, of course, the messenger of the Sun. The Sun is our spirit. The ascendant is our filter of perception. Mars is our will and sexual desires. Here on Pisces, I have Pandora. Pandora is the one that's beloved by the gods, the insatiable woman, but it's also those things that once it is open, it can never be closed. Like when you move into enlightenment, you open yourself to a new level of consciousness. You can never go backward and re-extinguish your consciousness to go back to ignorance that we were before. So it is Pandora. All of this is reinforced because of the fact that this is my first house. Another very important configuration is the north and south node of the moon, for it gives us the direction of our life. Every planet we have in the constellation where the south node is those planets that we have integrated. We have integrated all those aspects pretty well, and the north node is what we seek to integrate. As far as I'm concerned, I don't have any major aspect, neither in Capricorn nor in Cancer, so I have my north node in Cancer. New planet I integrated is Amalthea, which is it's a goat that is the motherly energy that is taking care. It was the goat that took care of Zeus when he was young. Amalthea, which is also the great Capricorn. Urania is the muse of astrology. For that's it's my first house. It's because it's a sign that I am deeply connected to all the cosmic things. Cassandra is the one who sees the prophecies, but nobody believes. So if you ever hear no or stop in your head when you're doing something, it is a sign that there's a plan. Maybe not Cassandra, but it is spirit that is saying no. So when you hear no, just stop. Because Cassandra has always been able to tell the truth, but nobody believed her. It's because she was loved by Apollon, that gave her the power to see the future. But since she refused to consume their union, she couldn't remove the gift. But he made it so that she would always tell the future, and nobody would believe her. Like when she said, "Do not let the horse enter into the city of Troy." Everybody kind of say, "Oh, beautiful horse, let it come in." So Cassandra is the one that says no. It's here we have Chiron, the great centaur Chiron, the planet of healing, of knowledge. Here I have the planet Metis, also is very powerful. She's the mother of Athena. She's the planet of wisdom, very advanced. There is two Metis. There's one that's a moon of Jupiter, and then there is an asteroid. Here I have the planet Ibris, which is all the excess. I have to deal with excess in my life because I am pretty excessive in many senses, and so I have to remove the excess in order to know myself as the Oracle of Delphi, the Oracle of Apollon already claimed. Know yourself, nothing more. Everything that's excessive has to be removed in order to discover the truth. Then I have Orpheus is here. Orpheus he was the greatest musician of Greece. Of course, music was given the responsibility of education of music was given on the earth plane to Dionysos, and on the celestial plane to Apollon. But there was a mortal musician, Orpheus, who was. It was so great that he could even put asleep Cerber, the dog that was keeping the hell, in order to rescue his beloved Eurydice, which I have here. It's a little planet called Eurydice. Here I have put Osiris, because I had put Isis, but I couldn't locate Osiris, so now they're not too far apart. Here I have Semele, the mother of Dionysos. Here in the second house, I have three great goddesses: Venus, Isis, and Eunomia. Understand, we all have all those planets within our chart, and they're just unknown. But sometimes they are working with us unconsciously, and they're helping us. So in essence, Venus is the planet of love. It is the planet of ascension. It is the planet that will initiate the light body. It is a sister to the Earth, but is far more advanced in relationship to the world of energy than the Earth. And so it is one of the most powerful influence. Here I have in my second house in Eris. Isis is also the mother that takes the defense of our children on the earth. Eunomia is the divine order. Divine order. I try to keep this goddess overseeing my path, so I don't step away too far away from the divine order. Another great goddess is Minerva, which is the second planet for Pallas Athena. Then there is Eros. Eros, a pretty big planet that's not far from Mars. There is many. It's a legend in terms of Eros. It is an original divinity from the early beginning. It is the planet of love. Love has always been there, always been present. Yet there is a tradition within Plato kind of explained the birth of Eros as the daughter of Protos and Pene, the goddess of penury and the god of abundance. So it created a very strange creature named Eros. And so it is the archer. He's an archer as well. Atropos is one of the Moirs. She's the one who cut the strings of destiny. Artemis is another planet for Diane. Industria and Photographia, I put them in, but I don't really know them that well just yet. Ophelia, is a fairy planet, the queen of the fairies. Musa is the muse. There is 9 muses. The daughter of Zeus and Mnemosyne, the goddess of memory, and they are the one who inspired the artists and the poets. Then there is Cupidon, who works well with Venus. She's an associate of Venus. Here I have Jupiter. There is very little that couldn't put any of the moon because there's so many planets in there. Then there is this little planet called Olympia. Olympia is a great center of power because it regroups all of the energies of all those planets. All those energies are all grouped within the Olympia, this little planet. Sphinx is the one who asks the questions and tests. Interamnia is the planet of transition. Hercules is a planet of courage, essentially. Sedna is an ocean goddess. Daphne was the love of Apollon as well, who was transformed into a laurier. Thing that the Roman emperor used to wear. I don't know the name in English. I think is. Then Satan was the son of Satan was the son of Helios, the sun, but he was burning everything wherever he was going. He was taking the fire of the sun everywhere, and so he was sent into a supplice. And then here we have Chaos, which is a very small planet, but it represents the original chaos from which all things come out from. Eris is the twin daughter of Mars. She's the goddess of discord, and she's got a moon named Dysnomia, the divine disorder. And then far on the bottom there is Typhon. Typhon is one of the darkest archetype of the antique Greece. And I created some of those. I had to create some symbols because they do not yet exist. Here I put the Zeus symbol upside down on Typhon. Then you have Ornamenta, which is a beautiful planet. Here we have Hephaestus, which is another planet for Vulcan that I have here, the god of the forge. Diane is the goddess of the natural goddess of the woods and hunting, and she's very an ecological planet in many sense. Lachesis, she's the one who pulled the strings of destiny. Tantalus is the insatiability. We are never satisfied. It's the planet that makes us unsatisfied in many sense, because it was somebody that could never get satisfied. For they all have a mythological history, but they also have different impact on astrology, and sometimes it is subtle. Right now I'm just giving you some just basic point in relationship to their history in terms of what their name is about. After that, how they impact us. I can give you some pointer, but maybe it's different from everybody. For all those beings, those higher spirit, if we can believe that they're actually divine consciousness that inhabit those celestial bodies, they all have free will, and so they decide what they do, and so they're conditioned by certain influence, but they are very free will as well, and so they may be able to do things that are outside of their commonly known realm of energy. Here we have Nymph. Nymph was the Nymph are all the immortal young goddess that populated the heavens. Nemesis was a child of the night. She was the grandmother of Helen. She was seduced by Zeus, kind of seduced. Arachne is the planet of spider. It is the planet that contributed to create the web, created the internet. The spiders are the architects of creation, so they're very powerful little planet. Igea is a little planet she was the daughter of Asclepius. She's hygiene, it's prevention in terms of. Then there is a planet Moira, which is the reunification of all three planets, all the Moire, Lacéchis, Clotho, and Atropos, when they work together. Here we have Proserpina, you can see. Yeah, Proserpina and Hades. Proserpina is the Latin name for Hades, for Persephone, which is she was the daughter of Demeter that was kidnapped by Hades, became the lady. His companion in the underworld, Hades being Pluto, the lord of the underworld. Here I have Fortuna. Fortuna was a great planet, the planet of fortune. Harmonia was a planet. She was a nymph as well, and she had a very promised destiny of grandiose. Prospect for her destiny, but then all of her descendants had some misfortune. Let's say she was the grandmother of Oedipe, for instance. Tia is one of the great, here I put it like a teacup or a teapot, but it's actually one of the great original goddess of the ocean. In Gemini, I have Requiem, which means pause, which is a gracious, very light planet. Here I have Hector. Hector is the symbol of the heroic return, the hero, the great hero of Greece, the greatest warrior of Troy, which is here in conjunction with Achilles. Achilles was the great enemy. He killed Hector, actually, having them in conjunction. But in many sense, Achilles he was very brutal. He was a very brutal person. But in a sense, he alone was responsible for winning this war of Troy. I mean, before the introduction of the horse. I mean, when he stopped fighting, the Achaeans, the Greeks were completely losing the battle. And when Achilles returned to the fight, that's when they started retaking. But Achilles is also the fact that his mother would dip him into the Styx, but she was holding it by the foot, and there was this one place that was vulnerable. So it's like Achilles is also the point that the planet that talks us about that space which we are vulnerable. Then we have Circe. Circe was a magician. She turned all of the companions of Ulysse into pigs. So she because of the plants, and so but there is great magic. She knows a lot of magic. Lucia was a symbol of light here. Aurora is a beautiful goddess with a pink finger, as Homer used to say. I have had a chance to commune with Aurora, not the planet, but the sense of Aurora and the rising of the sun. It is a magnificent energy. It's so beautiful. I like the symbol I've created for her. Niobe was the fountain. She was so sad because of her story, and so she was crying all the time. The gods turned her into a fountain. Nessus is a strange. It's a centaur. It's a trans-Neptunian object, and Nessus was in a difficult aspect. He was killed by. It was a centaur that was killed by Hercules because he raped his wife. But there is a whole story. I'm not really sure how it works in astrology. Kronos is a planet that's connected to Saturn. It is the little asteroid that has the Greek name, and some of the major aspects have been given Latin names. Then in Cancer I have Pythia. Pythia is the prophecies. Pythia is the prophecy of the Temple of Delphi. Then Logos. Logos is a very powerful planet. I had very few planets in Cancer, but I did find those. Logos is the sense of word communication, understanding of higher models. Absolus is a planet that I created a symbol of the infinite next to it because it's Absolus. Veronica is a planet I wanted to reintroduce into my chart. Fraternitas is a planet that is I created with the sign an E with the Earth below it, so that's like the symbol. Then Volcanus, the god of the forge, is the great engineer of the god. It's got another planet called Hephaestus. Here in Leo I have Dionysos, who's another planet for Bacchus. Chloris, who was a nymph, Hecate. Mekmek, the god of the Easter Island. This is energy of Arcturus. Represents a horse. Then Euronymé, she was a company of Zeus as well. Euronymé, she was the mother of the Grace, the three Grace. Philosophia is the planet of philosophy. Here I have Quewar, and there was a moon named Wewot. Here I have Ixion. Ixion is the overwhelming confidence. And here I found Estia. Estia is another planet for Vesta, it's the original name, so it's a goddess of purity, and Themis, the goddess of justice, that's represented in Libra. Then the planet Sophia, somebody told me it was moving into Leo now, so with Ceres, but at the time of my chart he was in Virgo. Then Sappho, she was the priestess from Lesbos. Apollon is another planet, an asteroid of the asteroid belt, and then Apollon has another trans-Neptunian object. Here is I have it with Zeus. They're together. They're very happy together over there. Davida is a little planet that have contacted me many times. I still don't know very much about it, but I know this planet has been working with me. Aphrodite is another little planet. That's another planet for Venus. Aphrodite. Omea, it's an archangelic energy. Omea, Namaka, and Amaka. So I got two moons, three little planets that are traveling together. They are the gods of Hawaii, the Hawaiian energy islands, and so they're connected to the archangels and the Elohims of those islands. Then in Libra, I have Amor. Amor is a heart that's separated in two. Then there is Atlantis here, it's a memory of the great continent of Atlantis. Sisyphus, which is the model of Sisyphe, which is the things we do that are completely repetitive. It's a story of somebody that was pushing a rock on top of a hill, and then as soon as the rock was got up of the hill, he would go back down, and he had to go back and push it, and it's an eternal repetition of the same cycle. So those planets can have influence on ourselves. Sometimes we need to deactivate certain frequency and reactivate other ones. Here we have Constantia, Callisto, M87, which is a future connection to the galactic family, greater for the future. And here it is in Libra. Here I have Poseidon, it's a little planet that's connected to Neptune here. Medusa was a woman that had beautiful hair, but she claimed her hair was more beautiful than Athena, and so she confronted her, and she ended up losing her fight against Athena, and she was killed later on, decapitated, as we know, Medusa. Euphrosyne here is a very important planet. It's the planet of the joy of life, freedom, light, liberty. So it is a very important planet. Pax is a very small asteroid that's named Pax, but in essence many of those asteroids were created from the destruction of a planet named Maldek, which was called Pax on Sirius. And so it is the reminiscence of that great big world of giants that used to exist beyond the orbit of Mars. Then Siva is connected to Siwa. It's like a Venus with arms, and it is a place in Egypt where there is Siwa is a temple of Amun-Zeus. Here I have Clotho. Clotho is the young Moir, who's the one who pulls the strings of destiny. Hidalgo is a centaur. Iris is the messenger of Zeus. Iris with light feet, as Homer used to call her. She's a messenger. She's the counterparty of Hermes, which is Mercury. Here I haven't really worked out on the symbol yet. It's a planet called Karma. You have the planet Memoria, which is a bit another planet from Mnemosyne, which I have in the next constellation. Here I have Hera, which is which is another planet for Juno. Here there is a planet called Oceania that just integrated. It's the great god of the great ocean. It's a divine patriarchal energy, which with Tethys created all of the Oceanid. Luna is the moon, is the one that conditions our emotions. So depending on where our moon is in astrology, we will be conditioned to experience emotion in a different way. Then in Sagittarius, I have the galactic center and the great attractor. Here, Bamberga is the observer, it's an astronomer. Mnemosyne is the goddess of memory, the mother of the muse. which is one of her daughters here. Terpsichore is the muse of dance. Hebe is a goddess that created the ambroisie and the nectar, so she holds the secrets of immortality. And I here have a conjunction of this little planet called Ambroisie, Maria, who's a Christic planet, Ceres, which is another planet for Demeter, which I couldn't place in my chart just yet. Demeter, it's a planet of growth community, everything that grows is connected to that planet. Juno is another planet for Hera. It is a family. It's a planet that represents the bond of family. Pallas Athena, which is active intelligence. It's a very, very powerful influence. It is the Athena that was always been called Pallas Athena because of an accident that happened where Athena killed Pallas, and they loved each other so much by accident, and so she always used her name before her. So it's a double. We have two goddesses on this one energy. Angelica, which is a symbol of the angelic. I use it here as the symbol of the angelic realm. Here I have Salacia, who's a moon connected to the moon. Leto, the mother of Artemis. Io, which was a pretress of the temple of Hera, that was seduced by Zeus. There is two Io. There is one that's a moon of Jupiter, and the other one that's an asteroid. Persephone, who's another name for Proserpina. She was the Kore, she was the Lady of Light. She was the daughter of Demeter. She was kidnapped by Ares, the lord of the underworld. Here we have Toro, which is the Minotaur. It is a very powerful force, but it has to be contained because otherwise this force can be a bit overwhelming. Of course, it is in Capricorn, so having my South Node in Capricorn, those are not really difficult aspects to deal with. It is far more difficult to deal with the North Node aspect, as far as I'm concerned. Lilith was the woman that's that unsubmissive woman, the woman that's exuberant woman. Bacchus was the Dionysos, the god of theater. It is the madness within the order. Dionysos is quite a. He came out of the leg of Jupiter, of Zeus, because he was saved. The Semele caught on fire when Zeus showed him his light, and he saved the children, put him in his leg, and so he came out of there, and he became Dionysos. So it is Bacchus here, and the Roman name, the Latin name. Thetis is the wife of. She's the mother of Achille, the wife of Pele. It's at her wedding that the goddess of discord came in with the apple of discord and created this war of Troy when she got married. Flora, which is the essence of flowers. Child, which is our own essence, our divinity in relationship to God. It's also the inner child. Psyche is connected to Cupidon, which was there are many stories. Victoria is the goddess of victory. And finally, in Aquarius, there is Icarus. I have Icarus here, it's my 12th house. Icarus is to be a little bit too confident. He escaped the labyrinth of Menos, escaping the Minotaur, but with an invention his father made, but he was too ambitious. He wanted to fly to the sun, and his wing burned. Here I have Panacea. Panacea is the goddess that knows all the healing of plants. Lumière is an asteroid that was named after the brother Lumière who invented the cinema. Europa was a beautiful goddess. She was the daughter of a river, but she was kidnapped by Zeus. Took him to Sicily, I believe. Astraea, she's the goddess of purity. She's the one who became the Virgo, although it could be Vesta as well. Vesta is integrity. Here also Eternitas, which are represented with an ankh, a planet named Buddha, which made a little Buddha. Pholus, who was a centaur, but advanced, kind of civilized centaur. They were not all civilized, the centaurs. They were kind of Hopi, which is the planet of the American Indians, also the planet of the ants. The great Saturn, the lord of karma. And here I have Prudencia. So yeah, well, I just wanted to introduce those little planets. They will be better integrated in relationship to form how they work inside the painting. But But in essence, by fixing them into those paintings, they kind of help me to reflect me, and so they teach me many things. And so I'm working with them. I'm also gonna redo the earth to make it prettier. I'm gonna work on the top, and I'm gonna work on each of those little planets to find the right color for the symbol and the right color for the name in order to integrate them. I hope you find this video interesting. I hope you will call on the planet when you need them. You know that we have all those resources, those intelligence, those energies that are at the tip of our fingers. We just need to call on them, and when they choose, when the time is right, they respond to our call, and they return to us with an energy of self-empowerment, and usually it is we have to accept all of sometimes the planet are working against us, sometimes they're working for us, but in essence they're working as one field that want to bring us into the light. Once we move into a higher light, there is no more duality of all of that which creates the duality becomes deactivated, and all of the positive light move forwards, yet understanding that everything has two sides. So every planet has positive and negative aspect, just as the constellation. We have to master every positive and negative aspect of all the 12 constellations in order to achieve ascension. Well, I hope this message was interesting for you. I wish you a wonderful day. Thank you very much, and I'll talk to you soon. Namaste.